It's T-Sibs again with you, Viheimer and Anaconda here on LG Hockey Hotline, the quarterfinals.
Coming in hot here on a Tuesday night, huh?
Woo. Absolutely. That's how we like to do it over here. Well, you guys ready to get into some games? We should probably have a couple getting underway here in just a minute. Been an interesting first 2 days of this round, gentlemen. I don't know. It's kind of weird that all four series are 2-0 right now, and we got a couple of road teams that won 2 games and a couple of home teams.
Yeah, a couple of I would say not surprise. One surprise. One team's definitely continuing their streak, and we'll see what they can do tonight. And hey, you never know. They might be able to get it done here tonight over there in that San Diego and the Condors series. That's kind of a interesting series going on over there. A couple of them are as expected, and that Ice Hogs and Wolves series is very interesting as well. So we'll see how they can see what'll go on over there tonight with the Ice Hogs and the Wolves. That's going to be one to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, I think they all are. And as far as the series tonight go, we do have a poll question up. I screwed that one up on Saturday. We didn't get one up. So that's my fault. We have another one up tonight. How many series will wrap up tonight? There are, of course, 4 series going on right now, and they're all at 2-0. So all of them have a chance to wrap up. Your options are 0, 1, 2, 3, or all 4 series will wrap up tonight. Now, I don't know personally how many of these will wrap up tonight. I gotta imagine the teams that are down 0-2, especially like the Ice Hogs and the Crunch. Um, Wilkes-Barre Scranton's been playing extremely well, and the Gulls, they're not going to go quietly. At least you wouldn't expect them to. I really think that out of those 4 teams, there's got to be somebody that's ready to turn this thing around tonight and get back in the driver's seat.
For sure, for sure. And just so everybody knows, just real quick here, we're trying some new stuff out tonight. And, that's why the show may have a different feel to it here. It is playoff time. This is our second playoff show, so we're trying some new things out here. And, we're going to see how it works. We're going to be looking in live on games and seeing if we can't get some good video of that. And, I'm pumped. I think there's going to be there's teams fighting for their lives tonight, and it's going to be interesting to see if they can get it done. See if they can hang around to live and fight another day here. It's going to be a very hot night here.
Yeah, it sure is. Part of what we're doing here tonight, as far as bringing you the games, we're trying a little bit different way to broadcast this. We know last week the quality of the screen share where we were showing you some games, looking in on them, wasn't that great. So we're trying something tonight to hopefully get around that and make the video much clearer, or at least not be so choppy. So that's what we're trying out. So you may or may not get to see our beautiful faces. Personally, I hope not. Uh, but that's what we're going for. We want to try and bring everybody around the horn to all these games and, check in on as many as we can and keep you up to date. GMs, if you are listening, if you wouldn't mind, at the end of the game, just for us, if you want to send us your score of the game, if we didn't catch it on the broadcast or something, or if you could just post your score in the stats real quick, that'd be greatly appreciated. I think the most interesting series for me to this point is the Condors and the Gulls. And the Condors have been on a roll, and we've seen them kind of grow as we've come down the line and gotten into the playoffs. Now we're in round 2, and they took 2 on the road to start this series. It seems like they're clicking at the right time, and San Diego is not a pushover as we saw them sweep the Barracuda out of the playoffs in the first round. It's really kind of interesting to see how the Condors and Broski, who we had on Saturday, have handled the strong defense of the San Diego Gulls to this point.
Absolutely. I think they're doing a heck of a job over there. And if I remember correctly, didn't the Condors have a nice push at the end of the season last year as well?
I
Um,
think they did.
yeah, I think they kind of did the same thing last year, and they may have come up against a very tough team in the first round. And I can't remember if they got out of the first round or not, but it just goes to show when teams get hot at the right time, good things can happen. and the first game against the Gulls was a one-goal game. It was 3-2. Um, and it went into overtime. It was an overtime victory for the Condors. Very, very defensive game. Um, the Gulls fired 28 shots on net. Um, that's a very high amount. They had the puck for 9 minutes 23 seconds. I mean that's a brutal game right there. That's literally fighting until the last absolute second, and you're living and dying in overtime, time after time after time, shot after shot after shot, especially in the playoffs. And that's got to be stressful as hell when you're playing in big time overtime games in the playoffs. And then in the second game, I wouldn't say they handled them. I mean, the Gulls still had an over 9 minutes time on attacking that game. They both had 15 shots on net. But the Condors just found a way to beat the goalie, and they popped in six on the Gulls and won that game 6-4. So it's been a very interesting series, and the Condors are just they're still riding that wave, man, and it's up to them whether or not it breaks, I guess, at this point.
Well, I think it's very interesting with the Condors that last night's game they were able to win 6-4, and putting up 6 goals on that San Diego Gulls defense is not an easy task. And whatever they're doing seems to be the answer right now. They've been playing outstanding, and they took out the division winning Rampage last week in round one, and now they're going at the second place team in the division in the Gulls. And it's really kind of interesting to see. There's tons of stuff going on. I mean, we have a couple other games that are about to be getting underway, and the Condors, they're keeping me interested right now. I want to see what's going on in the Ice Hogs and the Wolves series, and that's been interesting to this point as well. But um, I don't know. The Condors are kind of hard not to watch right now.
For sure. I think they made a great move later in the season to pick up Bradley, who had a really good game against the Gulls, picking up 6 points last night. Um, and I think they just made some really key moves towards the end of the season, and it's really paid off. And their team is just firing all cylinders, and they are fun to watch. That's definitely one I'm going to be keeping an eye on for sure. Um, Along with that Wolfpack series, we'll see if the baby Pens can come back in that series and maybe grab a win tonight or two, or we'll see if the Wolfpack just really did get that fired up about me picking against them on Sunday, and they really took it to heart. And they're playing the hell out of some hockey right now, and they got a 2-0 series lead on the baby Pens over there.
Yeah, they. It seems like anytime you show any sort of what could be perceived as disrespect towards the Hartford Wolfpack, BP's on top of it, getting his guys ready to go. And whatever they need to fuel their team, so far it's worked. And they are a tough bunch over there, and they do not want to give up their chance to defend this title. So, um, very interesting series there. What do you think about the Ice Hogs? 2 series in a row now. They've struggled getting out of the gates. Now, like we talked about with Vibes a week ago, you can't really count the top seed out until they're actually out. Um, but going down 2-0 to the Wolves is not going to be as easy a task to come back against. These teams know each other very well, and Vibes and Shiz are playing the matchup game, trying to figure out what's going to help their teams here in wrapping up this series. And that's what's kind of funny about how LG's playoffs are structured. We got all four of these series off to a 2-0 start, and by night three this week, there's teams that have a chance to wrap that up and they could be moving on to the semifinals. Or we could see a totally different story and have teams tied at 2-2, looking at a long series ahead over the next few days. And I really think that that's extremely enticing as a viewer because we can expect that tonight, there, especially in game three, we're going to notice that teams aren't wanting to get um, behind in the series any further than they are, and we might see some frantic play.
Well, Rockford and Chicago have started, and so they're in the first period now. 16 minutes left to go, no score. And we have that one up on screen now as we're talking. So I'm sorry to interrupt you. Just want to make sure everyone knows we're watching the game now.
Right. No, that's all right. I was done.
I think that's going to be an interesting series because last night the Ice Hogs threw a couple of the big dogs out there. They had Kraz and Rhino in the lineup last night, and the Wolves still found a way to win that game. So, that's a huge. That's like in the real world, that's like going into somebody else's building and stealing a game, and basically stealing home ice advantage from them. If you can get a victory when Kraz and Rhino are playing, then you're doing something right and you're getting some good things going for your team because that's one hell of a group of forwards to battle over there. And if you could pull a win off with those two guys in the lineup, you're definitely doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely. They're uh, all these teams now at this point. Even you would even consider Wilkes-Barre Scranton coming off a sweep in round one indoors. How they're hot. Every single team right now. Um, I wouldn't want to play any of them personally at this point. They all seem to be doing dangerous things with their club. They seem to be, a lot of these teams primed and ready to make a deep run, and we're seeing that in the play. And as we get about halfway through the first period in the Rockford Chicago game, I'm really interested to see what happens here because Shiz knows that they need a victory, and Vibes knows that they need one. And if Chicago can somehow come away with a win here in game three, as they closely, narrowly miss a goal right there, that could spell trouble for the Ice Hogs. It would be tough to win four straight against this team after giving up three straight to start the series.
Oh, big time. That's a tall, tall order. I mean, looking at the stat line from last night, I hate to keep going back to last night's game, but I mean, the Ice Hogs had 11 minutes plus time on attack, 17 shots on net. They did take four penalties, and that is exactly what I was talking about in our preview of this series. Is the power play, special teams in this series is going to be huge. And the Wolves picked up 2 goals on those power plays. They went 2 for 4 last night, while the Ice Hogs went 0 for 4 on their league-leading power play. So, in a game like this, you got to stay out of the box, especially with how they scored the goals. And credit to Phillips last night. He played a hell of a game. He was making some great saves for the Ice Hogs, and they're battling out there.
Well, we've got an update here. Rockford just they scored kind of a dribbler goal. It got poked off by the defenseman's stick that dribbled in past the goalie. Tough goal to give up to the stopper. But Rockford was showing right before that goal happened. They were possessing the puck again, like we were just talking about they did last night, and this time we see them get rewarded for it. You know, you're not all you don't always have to lead in time on attack to win games, but if you lead in time on attack in most games, you're gonna win more times than not. And if the Ice Hogs can continue to do what they're doing with time on attack here, they could make it easier on themselves because they're not defending the chance for the Wolves to score goals. However, the Wolves have a very good deep pass that they can break the defense down with at a very rapid pace. So you obviously never know what could happen. That's probably what happened last night. Is they were out time on attack but found a way to win.
Well, the Ice Hogs are a puck possession team. They like to possess the puck. They got skilled players who are very, very patient with it, and they just look to let you beat yourself. And when you're playing sound defensively and you're not beating yourself and you're keeping them to the outside, they could possess the puck all they want. And that's as long as they're coming up against a team that's playing sound defensively, good team defense, it's going to be a struggle. And that's exactly what I see going on in this game right now. Is the Wolves are playing some great team defense.
Yeah, they are. Sibs, do we have any other games up that right now? I don't see anything
Yeah,
going
no,
in front of me. So
not yet. No, I know that they're trying to get one going with I think the Pens game,
Yeah, that's
possibly.
starting right now. Yep.
okay, I just want to make sure I'm not missing one while we continue to talk about this one.
Yeah, I
So
think finally we got a stream for the Wolfpack and the Pens. Will be going to that one shortly.
awesome. And as you can see right now, it went to first intermission in the Ice Hogs Wolves game at 1-0 for Rockford. Um, that's got to be the kind of start Shiz wanted. Have a period that they doubled the time on attack of the Wolves and came out ahead 1-0. He's got to be happy with that, at least to start out with, because they get on the board. They possess the puck, but they got on the board, which not getting on the board when you possess the puck like that, it can be frustrating as hell.
For sure. It looks like this San Diego and Bakersfield game is they just started the second period as well, and San Diego's up 1-0 in that one.
Yeah, like I said, they won't go away quietly. That's a team that definitely is not happy with dropping the first two to the Condors, and I can see them tonight really wanting to make a push to try and get that back even so they can get back in the driver's seat. But don't count the Condors out. They've been extremely good, and this could turn out to be a super interesting night in that series.
Yeah, I was talking to Broski a little bit earlier today, and he's saying that he said, it's not even me doing this. It's the team stepping up and feeding off of the fact that people don't think they have a chance to win, and so these guys are playing every night to prove everyone wrong that they're not there by a fluke, and they have more than two good lines, and they're working probably as well as a team as anyone right now.
Yeah, they really are.
They're
And
playing with a chip on their shoulder. That's super important, man. That'll get people going. If you can play with a chip on your shoulder and do it in a structured way, that's huge. That does nothing but good things for you.
well, it really does. And we talked to Broski on Saturday and kind of asked him about just that. And when they went up 3-1 against the Rampage last series, he had to calm his guys down because he said they got a little overexcited and were like, we're up 3-1, we're going to win this series. And as a manager, he did the right thing. He was able to settle his team down, and even though it got tied up at 3, they were able to pull out the series victory, and that doesn't just happen. It sounded everything that we asked him about. He answered the proper way, and really seems to have a good handle on how to handle his team as they go through the playoffs here, making sure they don't get overexcited about this 2-0 lead against the Gulls, or if they were to go up 3-0, you can bet he's ready, telling his team like, hey, this thing's not over yet.
Well, we are looking in on the Rockford Chicago game right now, just under 12 minutes, 1-0 still. Rockford in the lead, and of course, Penn's and Hartford, 10 minutes left to go. No score there. We'll get back to that game shortly. We'll switch back and forth as we see the competition rise a bit, but so far it looks a little tentative between Hartford and the Pens, and obviously the Pens have something to prove as well, but so far it's been Hartford in this series.
For sure. Yeah, Hartford. Like I said, they came out with a little bit of grit to their game coming out of the gates in this series. Hey, they're a hell of a team, and they may have gotten fired up a little by them not being by me not picking them. I don't know. Beefy was talking to me about it, and the Wolves just tied the game up, huh, boys? Did you see
Yeah.
that?
Oh, that was
They
a
did.
tough goal. But yeah, I think I don't know if that's Raskin net tonight. I'm not sure. I think it is. But yeah, that did not get over in time to stop that long rebound, and boom, it's 1-1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and look how
The
quick
Wolves are playing
Chicago got
great
out of the zone
defense.
there.
Yeah, I mean they're playing great defense. They're breaking out quick. That's tough to beat when teams are playing like that. They're playing defense as a unit, which is good to see. It's they're covering for each other when somebody gets themselves out of position, and there you go. I just jinxed him, I guess.
Well, it looks like Chiz Nasty got himself on the board in this one.
There he goes.
Yep. Yeah, he must have heard us talking.
Yep, for sure.
Well, he said it himself in the shout box. He's been talking about it. He said I have not been playing well. This has not been a good series so far for me, and I think he felt that way even early in the last series too. He feels like there's a lot more he needs to do. But to be fair, and you guys understand this, when you're trying to run the team, you kind of forget about your own play for a little while, and then it can be an issue. And there's another goal, and Yeah, we
Now three
we
to one.
we have a lot of different names now on jerseys. I think everyone's paying tribute to other people on the Rockford Ice Hogs. So, uh, yeah, once we get an idea who all these guys are, we'll get to the proper scoring. But
Right.
we,
So I think the Condors goals game had a lag out, and they're restarting that one up. Just as an update on that one, I'm not sure what the score is right now. Um,
I'm going to switch back over to the Hartford WBS game just because it's getting down under 2 minutes still, first period, no score. And just taking a look at that one just to see what's going on there. But this could be a Penguins team is trying to uh, push it as much as they can. But Hartford is so quick. You can't make too many odd man rushes and leave one D back before you're going to get burned by these guys.
Yeah, they break out quick. They're very very good on the breakout. But just I wanted to touch back on that thing we were talking about with Ches real quick. Um, and like you had said, when you're managers, I'm speaking strictly from personal experience here. You spend so much time gathering people together and constantly trying to organize games and get people together, and you're playing in all those games and you're constantly filling spots, and it really um, it can wear on you. It really wears on you. It wears on your game. You get stuck in ruts. um, and I've found, after the season has ended, that not playing and then coming back and playing games after that, taking just a little break, a couple of days off during the season. you know uh, it's every day, literally every single day playing the game. And I just think, to break out of those ruts, sometimes you got to take a break from the game and literally just not turn it on for at least 24 hours to help get out of those ruts sometimes.
yeah. I've only played once in the last 2 weeks or so, and it's really just to kind of step away so I can see the ice better. Kind of closes down on you when you're playing so many games so often, and you start to overlook really simple things. And it's especially when you get to the playoffs like this. If there's anything to do, um, it's make sure that you don't have that happen, because you need everything to win these series. I don't know if we have the Crunch or Rochester game up on our broadcast, but Syracuse just scored with 6:26 left in the third to take a 2-0 lead over Rochester. Um, so it's looking right now like Syracuse might get back in this series here. Rockford was up 5-1 over the Wolves, and that happened quick. Um, wow,
Bakersfield just scored two quick goals, and they're up 2-1 on the goals right now, from what I see.
wait,
And
they scored two quick goals. Is that what you said?
but I'm telling you, man, I was looking at it 1 minute and it was 1-0 still, and then I look back, and as soon as I look back to the screen, there's a shot, just a dump in coming
That's
from the blue
hilarious.
line, going into the zone, and it went in.
I just did the same thing as the Cruncher up 3-0 now.
It's so funny that sometimes in these games how quick goals can get scored. I mean, you can blink and look away for 30 seconds and look back, and two, three goals could be scored. Just in the blink of an eye. It's funny how quick it happens sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. And especially in the playoffs, that's the what you just said basically describes how a series can go too. As you see a lot of these teams that are down 2-0 or getting themselves back in it. Syracuse is up 3-0, 3-0 with a minute 49 left in the third. So chances are they're going to get back into this one. And as fast as a game can turn around by having goals scored that quickly, a series can turn around just as quick, especially on a night like tonight as Syracuse goes up 4-0. They just scored another goal with a minute 15 to go. Um,
Wow.
with two games on night three of the week where you get games three and four, things can change very rapidly. You can go from being up 2-0 to going to sleep worrying about your chances in a series.
And we're looking at the San Diego Bakersfield game now. Just got that one tuned in. And as you say, Rockford still ahead now, 5-1, 14 and a half left to go in the third period. And Hartford and WBS, no score, still second period, 8 minutes left to go. And those are the three games that we're able to look at right now, the ones that are streaming. We'll keep an eye on the Bakersfield one right now. That one seems to be closer to ending, so we'll keep a look on that one. Actually, Hartford just scored, and so now they are up on the Pens 1-0.
And
Well, that's
And
the
that's the beauty of this league, like you were talking about, Jonathan, is that the first two nights right out of the gates, you're playing one game, and it can get, like we saw, there are four teams up 2-0 in their series, but after tonight, those series could all be tied 2-2 in the blink of an eye, and you're right back in the thick of it here with a tied series, going to games 5 and 6 tomorrow night, where the series, could flip in a matter
yeah.
of 24 hours. It could flip and be over for the
Hmm.
other team in a matter of 24 hours. I think that's just one more beautiful thing about this league and the way it's structured. I think Triz did a bang up job, and McDonald and Haji was part of the way that this was structured back in the day on the Xbox side. And I think they a lot of this stuff set up the way it is for a reason because it works. It creates drama. This is great. I love watching these games.
Yeah, absolutely. The Syracuse Crunch did win their game. They won 4-0, so they are down 2-1 in the series now. Um, yeah, it's an excellent structure, and I gotta think that if you lose the first two games of a series, especially because in the first two games you're the home team, if you lose them as the home team, this league is structured very much so that you can really put the pressure on a team by coming back the next night after you've gone down 2-0 and having a chance to tie it up. And like you said, um, last series, that's how it went for the Griffins. They were up 2-0 against the league's top team, and as Rockford just scored another goal, they're now up 6-1. Um, they got two quick victories on Rockford in round one, and very very quickly found themselves out of the playoffs.
You can cause
Super
people sleep.
interesting.
yeah,
You can literally cause people sleep. Those
Yeah.
first two games go by and you're up 2-0. You're like, okay, sweet, I can get some rest tonight. And then Tuesday rolls along and you're sleepwalking into those games. And next thing you know, bang, the series is tied, and you're going into a tied series going into Wednesday. It's just great how it can flip flop that quick.
well, San
Yeah,
Diego is just taking the lead at 3-2 now with 5:18 left to go on Bakersfield. And so we're going to keep an eye on this game now. We're under 5 minutes left to go.
so you said the Gulls have a 3-2 lead over Bakersfield.
Yes, they do.
Yep.
Yep.
Interesting. Taste has got those guys.
Oh, what a save!
Stivvy's playing
Oh,
in this game for San
wow.
Diego, so they've got their boys out there ready to get back in this series. And Taste, I really don't see him freaking out too bad with the team that he's got. And this is a close one coming down to the wire. We'll see if the Condors can come up with some last minute magic to tie this one up, or if the Gulls can wrap it up and hope to have a tied series after tonight.
Wolves and Pens just started the third period. They are now tied at 1 as WBS came back with a late goal in the second. And so they are just starting up the third now. We'll get to that one a little bit. Third period almost over between Rockford and Chicago. And Rockford with a commanding 6-1 lead going on to a victory here and getting that series to 2-1. And, they did it last time against the team that everyone was shocked they were doing that against. But, against the Wolves, it's not so hard to believe they were down 2-0. But they come back tonight. 18 shots on goal for the Ice Hogs, 7 so far for Chicago. 23 seconds left to go in this game. All but over.
9:23 time on attack for Rockford. That is their
Yeah,
MO. I mean,
that's it.
I'm telling you, they possess the puck. They move it around nicely in the offensive zone, and they just wait for you to make a mistake. And when you do, they capitalize. They're right on it. They're just such a good puck possession team. It's they're fun to watch. They
But
really are.
do you know what, Mike? You
Mhm.
look at what San Diego, and I'll let you talk about this too, Jonathan. Look at San Diego, and their timeout attack is always good. Now, they just scored another goal. Now, they pretty much have this one wrapped up at 4-2. But they also are very time possession oriented. But for some reason, Bakersfield has been able to play good enough defense to keep them off the boards in that first game. Second game, they were tied shots on goal at 15 each. So there can be a way to beat these guys one way or another, but you've got to at least keep those shots long distance and not too many close in slot plays.
Yeah, if you keep them to the outside, you're all right. They can possess the puck all day on you if they want. As long as you're playing good team defense and keeping them to the outside and keeping their chances from the outside, like you said, it makes it really tough on them to score. And then basically what you do at that point is you wait for them to make a mistake. You force them to make an errant pass, and you take that and you go the other way with it. It's that whole uh, adage of creating offense by playing good defense. It's a cat and mouse game for sure. Puck possession does have a lot to do with it sometimes if you can just keep at it. But if you got a solid, disciplined defensive team and you're keeping them to the outside, you can make their lives tough too.
Down to 13.3 left to go in this San Diego Bakersfield game, and believe the Condors just took a penalty, so this one all but over. And San Diego, this is a night so far. It looks like these teams that have been struggling are all coming back with a vengeance and have something to say about it.
They're not going down quietly.
No.
Not at all, and that's great to see, man. That's the competitiveness of this league is great to see. It's teams don't want to get eliminated early. They don't want to get swept in a series, and when you're down 2-0 in a series, that's all the incentive in the world to get to work and grind out a couple of victories on a Tuesday night.
4-2 goals victory now as they pull their series now 2-1 Bakersfield. And we are now looking at the Hartford Pens game. 6 minutes left to go in the third. Still 1-1. And again, uh, some good between the blue lines defense happening as Hartford now trying to break in and get something going. But another penalty is called, and this one is going to go against Hartford. And it's going to be a power play with 5:12 left to go for the Pens to see if they can break the tie.
Yeah, the Crunch got back in this one. I'm gonna update the scores real quick on the couple that have finished. Crunch won 4-0 against Rochester. Um, we saw the Ice Hogs go official at 6-1 um, to make their series 2-1. You just said the Condors and the Gulls are final 4-2, so the Gulls have gotten back into that series. Um, so far, a bunch of teams fighting for their lives and making sure that tonight is not their last. All three of those teams will play at least one game tomorrow. Um, good for them. That's what they're here for. They're playing a different game tonight, and you got all the, anybody who you haven't pulled out of the bag yet in the series. Game three is the game to do it, and I bet it felt nice for Shiz to score a goal tonight and help his team to victory. Is he wants to set an example after the first two games where they lost. When he's playing, he wants to be a leader and get his team back in this series, and he was able to do that in the first game. Seeing a lot of interesting stuff here. There's not really anything to complain about the way these are going. We know that we're going to have a lot to talk about. Shiz will be on any minute to talk about how his series is going and how that game just went. And this is phenomenal. It's interesting. It's great. I love what's going on here on LG, and keep them coming because so far we've seen some really good games.
Oh, oh boy, this Wilkes-Barre Scranton Hartford game is surely getting interesting here. Couple of close calls, boy, I'll tell you. Picking them off the goal line, I'm telling you. Great saves by defensemen. This is getting down to the nitty gritty here with 40 seconds left in the third, tied 1-1.
Yeah. Um, you really this could be a big game for this series because Um, if Wilkes-Barre Scranton, breathes some life into themselves and can find a way to pull out this game, um, we've seen stranger things happen, Mike.
Absolutely. I mean, definitely. It looks like Hartford's kind of all over them right now, but Wilkes-Barre's holding their ground. They're playing good defense, and it's an entertaining game to watch. For those of you who aren't watching it, click on it. It's an entertaining game. I guarantee you will not be disappointed.
OMG Price 31 is a net for them tonight, and you know he's you see him in drop-ins a lot. He's a pretty solid goaltender, and tonight he's kept Hartford at one, and so has the defense. So hats off to the Pens either way. We got 2.9 left to go in the third,
Big
and
big play coming up here,
it is a 1-1 game, and that says a lot about the Penguins not giving up in this one so far.
and we're
Yeah,
going
I
to overtime.
I wouldn't expect them to. It's really good to see all four of these teams down 2-0 fighting back. Um, it, it's kind of funny how the parity in this league continues to show. You've got some heavy favorites that a lot of people are picking to step through these series, and some of them were down coming into tonight. It's just overall, it's just the storylines that are being written, you couldn't come up with yourself, and they're outstanding to watch play out.
Hartford, 729 to 353 time on attack against the Pens, but the shots are only 14-9. So they're getting in the zone, but the Pens have been able to stop them from getting a lot of shots on goal so far.
Yeah, like I said, they're keeping them to the outside.
Yep.
They're playing good team defense, and that's what matters. If you can keep them to the outside, then hey, they can possess it all they want. You just got to make sure you keep them to the outside and don't let them on the interior of the in the house, as we like to say in Hershey.
Right. So they're in overtime now. 17 left to go in the first overtime period. In case there might be more. I don't think the Pens are going to give up that easily. You get again, it's that back against the wall mentality, and you don't want to give up. You want to keep on playing, and right now, the Pens are giving them their all. They've got a face off in
Oh,
their zone now, and that is the winning goal right there off the face off point shot on the fly, and Hartford has won it in overtime and have
Well, how about
taken.
that? The Hartford Wolfpack playing 7 games so far this playoff, 4 of them going to overtime, and they're undefeated in overtime.
they're undefeated in these playoffs, is what they are. They have not lost a single game yet. But every game has been close, so they're doing what needs to be done to get the W, and you gotta applaud them for that. They're playing great hockey, and they're coming up when they need it the most.
Yeah, they really are. And the only reason I put emphasis on overtime as opposed to the playoffs is just the fact that you were just talking about being in overtime games, and we've mentioned countless times how when you're playing in those games, you're having a heart attack or a stroke or something like that because they're so stressful. And
Garbage goals.
so far, Hartford has slammed the door in overtime, and they're just we do this for a living.
Yeah,
We
you
play overtime in playoff hockey.
you very rarely see a clean goal in overtime in this game. It's always a deflection, a bounce off somebody's skate, a bounce off somebody's leg, off their rear end. It's never, you can set up all the pretty plays you want in overtime, but for the most part, as anybody who's played this game for quite some time this year knows, it's the bouncers, it's the tricklers, it's the garbage goals that go in overtime. So, I mean, to
Hmm.
anybody out there, the name of the game in overtime is to get the puck to the net because, those pretty goals you could set them up all day, but for some stupid reason, uh, your guys will miss the net. They'll hit it off the post, and you can very rarely get those pretty goals in overtime. It's always those tricklers.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, do you think that that's part of the game engine? It probably is a little bit, but do you also think that when it gets to overtime, because we've talked about gripping the virtual stick and knowing that crazy bounces can go in overtime, causing goals from out of nowhere. Do you think it's all to do with the game itself, or do you think it's because people change the way that they're feeling going into overtime? You just naturally get more tense, and it causes you
Well,
to play a different game.
I'll tell you this. I think it's a combination of both for sure. EA would never admit to the fact that there is ice tilt or any kind of momentum or anything in the game, but there is. We all know there is. And, I think a lot has to do with
Well, why would you fight if there
mental
wasn't?
mental fatigue. Definitely has something to do with it, but also your players' physical fatigue. You're now in the fourth, fifth, sixth period of a game, and they are programmed to be more tired at that point in the games. They're gonna skate a little slower. They're gonna make a little bit lazier passes. They're gonna make a little bit. Their shots aren't gonna be as precise. That's all built into the game, but. Absolutely. You're squeezing the stick, you're squeezing the controller, your virtual stick, and it definitely plays a factor in it. I
Yeah.
think that you can definitely, squeeze it, make a pass too soon, too late. Go for a poke check too soon, too late. Go for a hit and miss it. There's all sorts of things with the mental side of it as well.
Well, how different is it? I wanted to bring this up, and while we're waiting for Shiz, I'll bring it up now, and then when he gets on, we can get right back to talking about the playoffs. But EA Sports released their EA Sports NHL released their video today on EA Sports Hockey League and revealed officially their new player classes. They will have 18 total player classes, same goalie classes, same defense and same forward classes,
No
except the
love for the
forwards.
goalies.
Right, right. Yeah, the goalies didn't change. The defense have the same four builds plus, so offensive, defensive, two-way, and enforcer. But they also now have a puck moving defenseman build,
That's going to be
which
interesting.
I'm extremely excited about. And forwards have the jumbo playmaker, the hitting sniper, and the two-way dangler. And really, it's something that Mike, you and I talked about before this game came out last year
Absolutely.
when we were talking to EA. If we'd really love to be able to control our attributes for our guy and unlock them as we play more and stuff. But
As would 90% of this community. I guarantee it. If you ask anybody out there, that would be their response. And, but,
right,
the powers
but
to be swear up and down that everybody likes the player classes.
if we can't have that, we
Right.
suggested, can you at least make more builds, make a mix of builds where we can have, a power sniper
Power
or
Sniper was one specifically we suggested.
right, or something like a hitting playmaker or something like that, so you can
The large
encompass guys like Joe
interesting
Thornton.
build. It's a very interesting build. I like that one a lot. It looks extremely interesting. Being able to, because the playmaker right now, anybody who's used it knows that, all somebody has to do is skate by you at a high rate of speed and you lose the puck.
Yeah, and I think it's a great thing because if they're, like I said, not going to switch back to the old way, adding these more multiple options, except for goalies. Sorry, Sibs. Sorry, goalies. But I don't know how many more builds you could make for the goalie, but I'm sure goalies could think of something.
I'm sure we could.
Um,
Oh yeah.
but it's nice, especially as we get more into it advanced statistics and things like that. I think that definitely had an impact on adding, let's say, the puck moving defenseman, where you've got guys in the NHL that they're more than a two-way or an offensive or a defenseman. There's something different. They play a two-way game, but they're outstanding at moving the puck, or play defensively and are outstanding at moving the puck. It just gives another tier, another layer into the build of a player, gives you more options to be able to build chemistry as a defensive pair and kind of pair strengths and weaknesses together. And that's just one more strength that's going to be a tough thing to plan for as an opposing team. When you see different builds like that, it just throws more fuel into the fire.
Right here it is on my list. I still have the notebook from when I was doing the beta test interviews in the Skype. Right here, number 30 on my list. More choices possible combinations of players. Power Sniper, Ovi. and a regular sniper, Kessel. You know the difference between the two, or would we have the power playmaker, which was Getzloff.
Yep.
Those are all right there in the suggestions and stuff that I put into into the game. And everybody wants to be able to have control over their own guy. I really wish they would bring that back, but
Or at least your height and weight.
yeah, bring me back my height, my weight, my stick curve, my stick flex, my skate blade length. Give me that. Just give me those little things back that you could adjust and make your guy a little
You could
more
personalize it.
customized, right? I just, but anyway, that's it's for a different day. We're not here to preach
But I
to
thought it
EA
was
about
something
their
cool to
game,
bring
but it
up.
is absolutely. I love the fact that they're definitely at least taking a look at it and trying to get some things added in there for different player builds. That is pretty cool.
And what I'm excited about, and the reason I bring it up, is for LG because it gives us a wider variety of types of players in this league. We don't just have, this group over here that's a playmaker and they dangle through everybody and do whatever. You've got snipers that literally will sit there while their team does the work and score goals. In
That's
this
what
league,
snipers do.
it gives you more builds that can help defend that sort of thing, and it's going to also be interesting to see which builds starting next year with the new ones there are going to turn into the most popular. Do we continue to use builds that are currently there, or are people that in love with the new builds that everybody switches to those?
There's definitely going to be a feeling out process, and it's going to be that time in between when the game comes out and when LG starts. When season 3 starts, you better be good and damn familiarized with those player builds and ready to roll because season 3 is going to blow it out of the water. I mean, we've got, almost 3,000 signups for this league now. The PlayStation side is growing larger every day.
Right.
And, it's going to be, when that game comes out, you better get on it. You better get used to those player classes and the new way
Yep.
this game plays because season 3 will be rolling around very soon after.
Yep. So we have been joined here by Shiz Nasty from the Rockford Ice Hogs. Huge win there, man. Nice game.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that. My computer was rebooting itself and Skype wasn't working, and I everything possible. So I tried to switch to my laptop, and of course, I didn't have the driver installed. And it's just a nightmare of a night. Okay.
And on top of having to come back from down 2-0 again in the second round here against the tough Chicago team, what was it like the intensity in that game? I mean, you guys found a way to dominate time on attack again, and really after controlling the puck, you came out of the first period up one, and then really poured it on the second two periods.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago's a good team. They play well defensively, and I think everybody kind of underestimated them. And I mean, I knew right from the start of the series that it was going to be a tough one. And anybody else who told me it was going to be a sweep was lying because Vibes good GM. He does his research. I think he's watched enough gameplay of me. He can probably tell exactly what I'm going to do before I know what I'm going to do. So no, it was a good game. It was fun to play in. It was nice to have the boys finally, have things swing their way. But we started playing to our strengths, cycling the puck. I mean, we got away from that in game 1 and game 2, and cycling the puck just helped us move them, get them to move out of the position because they like to collapse a little bit. And game 1 and 2, we weren't really finding a way to get it to the front of the net. We were just trying to force stuff around the perimeter. But once we started cycling and got our game going, I mean, it was just no stopping us from there.
Well, I noticed something when I was watching that game that you guys were, especially your defensemen, were very successful getting up the ice and into the zone, and then being able to hang out up there in that top corner and wait for everybody to get in, and they had plenty of outlets with the puck, and that's really how you were able to start gaining control of the time on attack by such a large margin.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of it was nice to see our team adjust our play. Uh, I don't know if any of you guys get nervous during games. I don't know. Is that just
Oh
me?
yeah,
We were
No, it's
just
not
oh
you.
talking
man,
about that.
my heart pounds out of my chest before games, man. I'll tell you, sometimes it gets super nerve wracking.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna show you guys something on air. This is a little shiz nasty.
A little.
Shiz nasty.
It's a little shiz nasty.
It's a little nasty, I'll tell you that. But
Right.
Uh,
Oh yeah.
no,
You get done with the game and you realize that your knuckles on your fingers hurt and stuff because you've been squeezing the remote harder than you thought.
hey,
yeah,
you give a shit, man. You give a shit about what you're doing, and that's all we could ask for.
yeah. I mean, yeah, that's it's an important game. I mean, it kind of helps pivot the series either one way or the other. And I knew we had to come out firing on all cylinders right away.
Yeah.
So
Your worst case scenario coming into tonight, other than of course being down and losing the series at the end of the night. But if you're coming out of tonight, it would be better even if you lost this next game and left 3-1. It's better to leave 3-1 winning game three than it is to leave 3-1 having to win game four because you're leaving knowing that you've got to win four in a row to win the series. And sitting before this next game, you know you have a chance to do what you did last series and turn this thing around and have it tied at the end of the night.
yeah, I mean, we it was nice to have Camagraph show up. He he hasn't been in contact with me very well, and I issued two strikes
Oh,
the other
Ooh.
day just to kind of send a message that you
yeah,
know what
man.
we're tired of having to cover for your ass.
Yeah.
And
It's playoff times, boys.
And it's not personal.
No, not
no,
a.
You made a
not at all.
commitment, and what I don't understand, and he wasn't the only one, and you weren't the only team having this issue, but I just don't understand how you go through the entire season doing what you do and then get to the most important part and then not want to be a part of it.
Yeah, especially when he I mean, he switched teams and he came to the number one team at the time. So you think he'd have the incentive to want to put up numbers and want to finish off the season strong and roll into playoffs. But
Right.
I
Well,
mean, it is what it is.
Yep.
you added Jay Nasty at the Jay Nasty 19 at the trade deadline, and I know he's been disappointed with how he's played in the playoffs so far, and I saw him talking about it earlier, and he was ready to have a big game, and I think if guys like him really get rolling, if Kraz keeps up what he did in the regular season and how you guys kind of played tonight, um, you guys can be the most dangerous team in the league even without J Claus, and it's funny because you've gone down 0-2 twice and people start to point out holes in the Ice Hogs. And then, last series at least you won four straight. It was like, all right, enough of this playing around. We'll go take care of business.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of just comes with the territory. One thing we got away from in game one and game two was using our D man. I think since we have such strong forwards, I think sometimes we forget how strong our D men actually are. And we didn't use them enough game one and game two. We were trying to play a 3-man offense up front, but if you can get the D involved, I mean, things just work so much easier. And as you can tell, because I mean, Jay Nasty had 2 goals and I think 3 assists tonight. I
Mm-hmm.
just kept dishing him the puck because he was open at the point. And I kind of recognized that they were kind of all trying to drop back and try to stop all our forwards, and just left the D open. And you know what? Sometimes that takes it as a good player is to realize that you know what, you're not going to be able to walk through their 5 guys because they're trying to play you specifically or your forward line specifically. But if you realize where they're leaving your strengths open, your D open, then I mean, it doesn't even matter if you're the best player up forward. If you're not dishing to the D when they're open, then I don't know what to say to you.
Yep.
Right. Well,
You got to
it's
create that back and forth, man. It gets their team moving, chasing back up to the point, and getting them moving side to side and up and down. And that's exactly what you were talking about earlier, is getting them moving, getting them out of position, and waiting for your chance to pounce and get a pass into the middle.
Oh, for
And
sure.
getting it back to your D-men is super important.
Well, yeah, and just kicking it back to them, not
Yep,
to have them shoot the puck, but
exactly.
kicking it back to them causes their forwards to have to pull up to the blue line, and then
Keep
that
them
leaves that
honest.
that middle seam wide open, and then
Yep.
so just even playing it to the D and getting them to kick it back makes the forwards commit more towards the D man, and that ice just opens up for the forwards to be able to walk in there and play 3-on-3 or 3-on-2 with the other defenders left, and that just makes a world of a difference rather than trying to play 3 versus 5 and
Hmm.
deep in the zone.
Right.
Without question, man. Without question.
And when you guys are kind of figuring this out, it kind of it makes me want to ask a question that you and I talked about off air a little bit, Shiz. But what's it like to be in a series going head to head with Vibes? Because he takes every opportunity to try and get into your head, and like a good manager, um, he's pretty slick about doing it sometimes. He doesn't try and blatantly do it, and he does it respectfully, but he tries his hardest to get in your head and make you start doing things that he wants you to do. How do you combat that?
That's that's kind of what Vibes has been about. Everybody kind of knows that, but I got respect for the guy. He's doing a great job. He did a great job last season. He's a great manager. I mean, yeah, he sometimes tries to get in your head, and I think the other day we had a little bit of a head-to-head there. But at the end of the day, like, it's playoffs. I know things get worked up. We had a personal talk. We talked it all out, and that's what you got to do at the end of the day. It's
Hmm.
just a game. There shouldn't be anybody feeling like it's a life or death scenario because yeah, we all want to win, but at the same time, if you're not respecting your opponent or the other GMs in the league, then you're not really
Right.
worth anything, in my opinion.
I think the key word there is, or the key phrase is that, we all do take this seriously, but it's never personal.
Oh yeah,
It
for
never
sure.
gets to a personal level. We're all competitive as hell, and you can see that coming out. Especially during playoff time. And people do take this seriously. A lot. Everybody does take it very seriously, but never personal. It's never personal attacks on anybody, and that's I think the key thing there.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I mean, for me, I don't know how some managers have a little bit tougher time with it, but I know that EA is gonna throw us some shitty bounces, and you know what? Some of our top lines are gonna lose the odd game. I'm not saying that we're gonna roll over every team because that's not my mentality. It's been other people's mentality in the past, but the way I always see it is that it'd be so much worse to talk all this trash and then have it blow up in your face.
Right.
So
Right.
I just, I try to keep it realistic. I don't throw out unrealistic expectations of what I mean. Sure,
Grandeur.
I'd love to sweep every series in reality, but I didn't plan my lineup to sweep 4 games straight. I planned for a long series because you never know what you're going to get.
Yep.
And so yeah, I can toss all my top guys in the first 4 games. Like I think Vibes was hoping I'd do the first game. he was trying to he was kind of calling out Rhino and Kraz, trying to get him to play game one, and just I just got to stick with my gut at the end of the day. I mean,
Yep.
he can say what he wants, and he can try to get me off my game, but I know who I want to be playing which games, and I know the kind of matchups that I want. And as far as like you see in the NHL, you don't see Mike Babcock texting back and forth with Ken Hitchcock or something saying
Who are you putting
saying
out there?
yeah, I think you should put out your first line versus our fourth line. Like you don't see that. It's just I mean,
Right.
Who's your goalie tonight?
yeah.
Yep.
So,
So
so
speaking of that, are you playing in game four? We got about a minute and a half till game four starts, and I just want to make sure I'm not holding you up,
no, I am
or
not
we
playing
aren't.
game four.
Okay. So I mean, it's close enough now. They shouldn't be able to make any adjustments to their lineup with you giving that away.
Yeah, looks like they're having a little bit of trouble with somebody signing online on my team. Looks like he's not getting into his EA account. So
Oh, bummer.
The
can I
joys of
can I,
GMing.
can I just go mute for a bit and come back?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely, man.
Okay,
Um,
perfect. I'll just take care of this and I'll be right back.
Sounds good, Chiz.
that's funny. The thing, when you're being a GM and you're trying to balance, coming on a show like this and just got out of a game, and now you're trying to prepare your lineup for the next game. You get people to show up and stuff, and then something out of your control, they can't get signed in. It's always something as a GM, isn't it, Mike?
Absolutely, without a doubt. There's always something going on, whether it's the NHL needing guys or anything like that. Speaking of which, I should probably check my messages and make sure our team doesn't need any guys.
So I'll carry the show on my back and do the heavy lifting like I usually do, and we will keep rolling on here while those two do GM things. And Sibs, you still hanging on over there at
Oh yeah,
least?
we were just giving people a quick look in at Matrick 303, doing a little warm up before his game tonight. He is going to be in goal for the Gulls, and Galley, who has been very solid for the Condors, he is also going to be in goal tonight. Um, and boy, it's interesting. Look at the Condor team. Carlson MVP, Broski up front with. I'm just saying those guys have been solid. Uh, Zepster I've seen do well this year. Galleon Net. Again, if you look at the players and you look at what these guys are doing, you can see why they've been successful. It's not a surprise. It's not a shock in any way, shape, or form. And
No.
it's another good game with Stivy playing D for the Gulls tonight. Danny K, Gergs, and Ransom up front for them. So again, another solid offensive line. And can the Gulls pull this 2-2? I think this one's going to be another battle.
You can
Big dogs
definitely
are coming
tell
out.
based on that lineup that they are trying. They are throwing out the big guns in hopes of having this series even again with a fresh start in a 3-game series here at the end if they get back to 2-2. And these are the games right here. We have one team in Hartford who's got the ability to wrap things up tonight, and all of the other three series are going to see at least one tomorrow. And based on what happens here um, in Game 4, we'll know for sure if we're going to have two games tomorrow and a couple of them. And if not, we could have a couple 3-1 series with teams that are going to have to fight for that second game tomorrow. But it's going to be interesting, no doubt. Games are about to be getting underway here. We've got Rochester and the Crunch that are going to be going live here in a second, and
Yeah, they're getting
Wolves and
their
Ice Hogs.
they're getting their squads together, so we should be seeing them soon.
Yeah, and the Ice Hogs are obviously getting ready to take on the Wolves in game 4 there. Shiz will be back when he's done dealing with that, and then can Wilkes-Barre Scranton can Mike? You picked them to beat Hartford. Are you back yet? Before I ask you
Oh
this
yeah,
question.
I'm here. I've been here
Okay.
the whole time.
So you picked Wilkes-Barre to pull out an upset against Hartford, and um, Hartford's undefeated in the playoffs, like you said, and they are the only team left that's undefeated in the playoffs. As Rochester lost their game to the Crunch, their first game to the Crunch tonight. How do you feel about Wilkes-Barre Scranton here? We could possibly see another Lehigh Valley Phantoms type situation where Wilkes-Barre Scranton puts up a fight and never know, make it to overtime and make it 5 overtime games for the Wolfpack. Um, but what are their chances tonight of getting back in this series, at least making it to tomorrow night for Game 1?
Well, the Wolfpack's a tough team, and they're getting timely scoring when they need it in overtime by their players. And Wilkes-Barre Scranton's been playing playoff hockey since week 5. They've been battling, and I wouldn't be shocked to see them come back and at least maybe win this game to get it to a 3-1 series. But I mean, it is what it is, and I thought maybe that Wilkes-Barre could ride some of that momentum from their sweep of Portland. And coming into this series, I thought they could give the Wolfpack a run for their money, but it shows. It just goes to show. I love the fact that that me possibly picking against them may have fired up Beefy and the boys. That's cool to me. I like that about the platform that we're on,
Hmm.
and it's getting people's competitive juices flowing, and that's what we're all here for, is to compete. We're here to compete against one another. And Wilkes-Barre Scranton, hey, even if for some reason That series is closed out tonight by the Hartford Wolfpack. My hat's off to Wilkes-Barre. They got to the playoffs. They battled to get there, and they took down Portland in the first round. So they can help. They can they can hold their heads high, and be proud of what they've done. So far. But hey, anything's possible. It is hockey. So, I'm not counting them out just yet, even though
Yep.
coming back from a 3-0 deficit is a very tall order to take.
Yep.
As Syracuse just took a 1-0 lead over Rochester here early in the first period. There's 16:47 to go, and Syracuse just scored a second goal and are up 2-0 on Rochester very early into this game four here, trying to get their series back to 2-2. Um, same situation for me. I picked Rochester to sweep the Crunch this series, and JD Forty, he didn't take it personally. And just in a quick, serious note, when we make picks and things like that, nothing is meant personally, and we've said many times, and we 100% mean it. Prove us wrong, and JD Forty has taken that to heart a little bit. Not personally as far as a personal attack, but he wanted
No,
to get his
yeah.
guys together and ready to play, and he's proven tonight that they're ready to get back in this series, and I am totally happy for them if they can do it.
So I guess I should cancel that package I sent to your door for that Wolves prediction there. Hey, I thought it
Would
was
you just send him
personal.
a turd in a bag?
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
something like that. So I mean, if the doorbell rings, I just leave it, let somebody else handle it.
If it's in a pizza box, you'll totally fool them.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
if it's
no
got
kidding.
vibes written on it, you know who it came from.
you don't want you don't you don't want a little chiz nasty showing up on your patio.
No, there's already enough chiz nasty going around.
Yeah. That's funny though, because with you guys, I one of the reasons I picked the Wolves is because we're not sure. You got Camagraph back tonight, which was really nice. We're not sure how your guys are going to show up with their availability and stuff this series. That was a problem in the first round. And my only thoughts were that you might have a couple of times to deal with it. And if it happened to be at key times in the series, it would be unfortunate for you, but the Wolves are a good enough team to maybe capitalize on something like that. But so far, they won the first two games outright and did a good job. They were the second game two was extremely close. And you guys probably could have won that game. Um, when you guys are playing in a series like this and you have all this stuff going on around you, but really it comes down to just playing the games and you've got your players there. I'm assuming you got your guy into the game here.
Yeah, he finally got her figured out. But well, the problem is that I was originally gonna have Camograph play tomorrow night, but I'm tired of taking the risk to see if he'll show up or not. So if he's
Smoking
here,
if you got him.
I mean, yeah, I get the one AHL substitution. So I mean, it's probably gonna work off better in our favor. I was hoping to not play Rhino and Kraz on Monday night, but unfortunately, even Gilly wasn't available then, and just kind of got stuck with playing those two together. I mean, not that I mean they're both great players, but their styles just aren't the most complementative of each other, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
You guys know what I'm
I
saying.
think you were right the
Something
first time.
like
Okay.
Well, we
Yeah,
just saw
but
we just saw Kras put your team on the board now, 1-0 late in the first. So you
And Rochester got on the board as well. It's 2-1 Syracuse over
yeah,
Rochester.
we're looking at the Rockford Chicago game now on the stream. Syracuse just going up 3-1 now,
Yes, they
and
did.
so again, uh, ex- not expected to go down 2-0 against the Griffins, but certainly we said this earlier. Certainly against the Wolves, it's not a shock when you go down to a team like that. But you guys definitely made a statement in that first game, and it is one that I think is something that can easily carry over to another game that starts almost immediately. Different when it's day to day, but when you can get back on the ice immediately and play another game, that's got to help with the momentum.
yeah,
Yeah, it does. And Rochester just scored a goal to make it 3-2 there. Um, Shiz, if you guys can get this series back to 2-2 today, or tonight, and be even heading into tomorrow, do you feel like you guys are back in the driver's seat right where you want to be as far as matchups and things of that nature to come?
I mean, to be honest, I haven't ever felt out of the game even going down 0-2. I still got confidence in the guys. I mean, Chicago played extremely well those first two games, and it was, it's tough accepting the losses. But like I said, I didn't plan for this series to be ended in four by my team. I carefully placed the lineups I did in order to make sure that if something does happen, like just happened, 0-2, that we can battle back and we have the right lineups to put up versus their lines to battle back. So
Right. Well, we talked about the structure of this league before you came on, and how it allows for, in a 7 game series, if you I think it's best to go down 2-0 as far as any other combination of being down in the series, because when it comes to games 3 and 4, you have such a big chance to swing the momentum back that you don't really need to worry too much when you go down, because it takes 2 nights to go down 0-2, but in one more night you can have it tied back up.
oh, for sure. And I know I knew JLM had to play one of those first couple of games because I knew he wasn't being able to play Tuesday. So I knew that he was going to be having to play one of those first couple of games. So I mean, I
Sneaky
trust my
scouting.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they kind of talked about it in the GM chat for a bit, and
Right.
well, when Fives was asking about how if one of his players could ECU one game, could he play game seven? I kind of had a feeling who they were talking about. That's just, I mean, I just kind of put two and two together. I'm not a genius by any means.
Right. Well, picking up on any kind of information like that, it may or may not end up being an advantage, but it never hurts to have, because it can become an advantage when you're talking about this situation. You knew he had to play. You went down 0-2, but so far you were able to get the matchup in game 3 that you were able to handle on your line. And now with a 1-0 lead, you're looking at, playing a tough game here and hopefully getting it back to 2-2, and then you're able to go to bed tonight and get some sleep, which is something else we were talking about the other a little bit ago, when you know, nights like tonight, you had guys last night up 2-0 that were sleeping pretty well, and if the series is tied after tonight, they might be having nightmares.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, it definitely. Well, I can't speak. Oh, we just went up another one. Nice. Camograph showing up. I like it.
Live
Uh,
updates by Shiz Nasty.
yeah, great announcing. Oops, we just went up another one. Yeah, I think TSN is sending contracts my way currently.
Yes. Just to update everyone else on the other scores, Hartford has a 3-0 lead, I believe, right now, late in the second. Um, we were also looking at the goals. Bakersfield up 2-1 now, late in the first. And, of course, the fourth game going on now is Rochester and Syracuse. The Crunch up 3-2, 15:41 left to go in the second period.
With JD for the posting in the GM chat that at the rate this game's going, it's going to be 12-12 heading to overtime.
Yeah, they're scoring them one right after another over there.
Back and forth. Those are great games to watch here, but
They're not fun
they're
to be
tough to
part
be
of.
a part of. Yeah. So
Especially if you're a
Shiz,
goalie. I'm sure Sibs can vouch for that.
Oh,
Right.
right.
I tell you what,
So Shiz, oh,
I,
go
I,
ahead, Sib.
I was just going to say, it is incredibly tough for the goaltenders because, remember, we've played 9 weeks. Now we've played several playoff games. There is a lot of chemistry going on, and passing and being in position now more than ever, and the competition getting better the next level. There's not a lot of room for error for the goaltenders. They've got to be there, or else their team's going to be down quickly.
Oh yeah, exactly. No, I've never ever taken credit away from goaltenders. I know some of our guy like to um like to sometimes. put a little blame on somebody else. And I mean, okay, yeah, we can all improve our game a little bit, but just goalie is not the kind of guy you want to piss off, in my opinion. Um,
As
Crash just
here's a
putting
live
another one
scoring
in.
update, yeah,
Yeah.
for you. Kraz took a 2-on-1 down and forced the defender to play the pass, which never came, and he beat the goalie short side. Nice goal. You guys are up 3-0 there. Um, you know, I was gonna ask you
oh,
a minute
4
ago,
nothing.
Shiz.
Yep. There you go.
There, yep, 4
From the
nothing.
point too. Nice shot
Yeah,
there.
can't even
TPZ.
have a conversation with the rate you guys are scoring goals right now.
Hey, I mean, I'm not going to complain about that. This
No,
keeps
me
up the
either.
way it is. I mean, I'm happy.
Oh, we won't jinx
Yeah,
it for you by saying anything. So.
yeah,
Uh-oh.
definitely not.
That
But
was close.
I was going to ask you, now that you are into your second round on hopefully a deep run through the playoffs here, um, have you settled in as being the GM? I mean, I know you're settled, but has it gotten any easier for you? Are you more comfortable with how this works? I know you worked a little bit last year helping management out and stuff. Now that it is kind of your team, you feeling good about how things are rolling for you, other than, of course, the occasional ECU?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the one thing I mean, kind of been a little bit different in playoffs than regular season is that, you don't want people to see the availability on the site. So I mean, I've been kind of doing everything manually. I think I showed Sibs my lineup chart, little formulas and everything, and
And
I
I
wasn't gonna
had a,
wasn't gonna show him with the enemy, but just showed him with Sibs.
which
Right.
is safe. You know, my head
Yeah.
almost exploded, so it wasn't pretty.
Well, we've all, because we're doing a show and we like to have as much information as possible. We all ask a little bit more of the GMs as far as information, with the understanding that in our position we would never ever allow any of it
Yeah.
to get out to for anyone to gain an advantage over, and wouldn't release it until it's irrelevant anymore as far as for someone to be able to do something about it. And that just shows more of how people have gone the good way about earning respect in the league. Is it's great for us to feel like you guys could trust us with stuff like that, knowing that we're not going to do anything with it that would cost you anything.
No, like just like I told you, you were asking me if I was gonna be in both games or if I can make the show or whatever, and I mean, I was straight up with you. I knew you weren't gonna
Yep.
be messaging vibes. Oh, Chiz is out for game two.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's between you guys. That's the battle between the teams. And I wouldn't want, and it's not just us, I wouldn't want anybody in the league, whether it's NHL owners talking or CHL players that are part of the training camp or something like that, saying something. We like to see, just like we don't want roster violations like what happened in the first round. We want to see these played out on the ice and as fair as possible. So it's great to get information, but as far as sharing it goes, that's up to you guys. That's part of the strategy of winning a series.
Oh yeah, I mean, I posted my lineup last night because I didn't have home ice, and I figured, when
Right.
what's the point of trying to hide my hand? I mean, the only thing I was unsure about was who was going to be that one AHL substitution. And once I got Camagraph to show up, I mean, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to take the chance of tomorrow night being the
Right.
same kind of thing.
Yep. And the Ice Hogs have taken a 5-0 lead with 15 minutes to go in the third period, as the Wolves actually just scored a goal to make it 5-1. And Rochester has tied Syracuse 3-3. Um, these games are, kind of going fast and furious. The Wolves still have a little bit of time if they can get something going, but it looks like you guys have this one pretty handily so far. Your guys are looking like they're moving the puck really well. I love watching you guys cycle the puck. It's really fun to see teams like that at that level. Um, I know how you like to play your game, and you really enjoy doing it. Have you started to find your chemistry now that you've played with Kraz for a couple weeks and got that rolling?
Um, usually I have no problem with adjusting to other play styles or instant chemistry. I'm kind of one of those players that's not. I'm not going to carry a line on my back, but I'm good at connecting the links, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yep.
Oh
So,
yeah.
for me, it wasn't necessarily me, um, I know I said something like, I'm not used to playing with those guys, and I'm not. But it was just, it didn't feel like it was me out there. I was just making poor decisions. I was forcing stuff that wasn't there, and it kind of sucks, especially as a GM, when you don't want to hold your team down. And if, like, I told straight off the bat, I was like, well, you know what, I could go play on the third line, like whatever kind of thing. And everybody told me no, like, you're our best fit for our first line. And I kind of let them pick it, because I hate to be that kind of. I know there are some management out there that maybe think they're better than they are. I'm not saying that's not targeted towards anybody, but I've dealt with the NHL. I know there's some guys who see that big zero salary, and they think they're kind of above people. But
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just for me, it was just me in a slump. I mean, we all have those. I know
Oh
that for
yeah.
sure. And it's frustrating, because once you get in a slump, it's not very easy to get out. And for
No.
me, it just seemed like I was bashing myself, and I was holding onto the puck too long, and I was trying to force passes that weren't there. And I mean, once I kind of I just kind of did a hard reset over this weekend, and
Hmm.
played a couple games a little bit, but just tried some different things. Tried using less right stick, more right stick, just to kind of a mixture of everything, to see if maybe I can just not change my game completely, but tweak it to a point where I'm happy calling myself a first line center, and then I feel like I deserve to be there.
Right. Trying to work out the kinks.
For sure. Yeah.
Hey,
um,
just to let everyone know, Hartford has closed out the Penguins 3-0 shutout in Game 4. That one just completed,
There you have it.
and there you
yep.
have it.
And
And the Condors are leading the Gulls 3-1, just starting the third period now. And
wow.
they're trying to stay out of the box here. Both teams. There's been a lot of power plays that I've seen in this game here, but currently Bakersfield is up 3-1 on the Gulls.
We're watching
Yep.
the Rockford Chicago game again now. We're coming down to 2 minutes in the third period with Chicago up five. I'm sorry, with Rockford up 5-1, and that series. Sorry about that. That series about to be, shall we say, tied up at 2-2. And again,
Hmm.
that quickly, your boys made a 2-0 deficit
Oh,
become
there's
two,
another one.
and there's another one, become
Yeah.
a
And
2-2 game. And again, another
y-
6-1, maybe another 6-1
So
final
far,
here.
yeah.
12 goals scored tonight by
Yeah.
Rockford.
And with little under 7 minutes to go, Syracuse has taken a 4-3 lead over Rockford in the third period. I guess on that note, Shiz, you guys are in the
Rochester.
final minute, up by 5. Yeah,
Now by
Six.
Rochester.
6. All right, we are back live. Sorry about that, folks. We had a little technical difficulty
Just let
issue,
us know when we're on.
and so now we are back live on the show, and we will try and bring some games up if we can. But this is going to be, yeah. This is what happens when you try and do a lot with a laptop. So we'll hopefully
Right.
not make that same mistake twice next time. But we're back on now. Jonathan's here. Mike is here. We're
Hey, hey.
yeah, we're
Well, shit happens.
And then
um,
you step in it.
yeah,
yeah, and then
exactly.
you step in it.
There you go.
Exactly. So as we fell off the air, we had Syracuse tying their series at 2. Um, Fordy very happy about a second win tonight for the Crunch. They won that game 4-3 against the Americans. And we had the Rockford Ice Hogs obviously won 7-1 against the Wolves, tying that series at 2. Mike, how about the Condors goals? How'd that fourth game turn out?
Well, from the looks of it, last I saw it was 5-1 for the Condors, and I believe that is the way it finished up, unless somebody got some goals in garbage time there. But it kind of went black on me here. So, but the Condors were well on their way to making that series 3-1 at the end of tonight, and they're sitting pretty going into day 4 of the playoffs here with a 3-1 series lead over the Gulls.
Yeah, it's a
Very
5-1
impressive.
Condors final on that one.
Wow,
That's a great
outstanding
job by
job,
the
Broski.
they're playing hot. They're playing good hockey right now. They're playing great team hockey, and I say look the hell out for the Condors because they're playing very very well right now.
And we had a
They
what?
seem to
We.
be.
I'm sorry. Did we had a 7-1 final on the Rockford Chicago game? Was that it?
Yes,
Yep,
yes,
Okay.
7-1
7-1
final.
final there. And what was the final in that Hartford Wilkes-Barre Scranton game? Did you say that, Sibs? I
That was
thought
a
you said
three
they won
nothing
3-0.
shutout. Yep.
Okay, so 3-0 there. We had Hartford was the only team to wrap up their series tonight. And good job to Beefy and the boys over there. They came to play. They're 8-0 in the playoffs so far, making it. I don't know. I don't want to say making it look easy because the 8-0 record does make it look easy, but they've had some extremely tough battles. Half their games have gone to overtime, and they found a way to pull out all the victories there. So, good job there, Beefy, and the rest of you guys over there in Hartford. Um, Looking good now. You got about a half a week off until you can start preparing for either Rochester or Syracuse, who are tied at 2 and looking at definitely a 6-game series. And we'll see what happens tomorrow to see if they're going to go 7. And then of course the Condors, man, going up 3-1 against the Gulls. We're seeing them kind of they're filling out their own storybook here and kind of following suit from what Hartford was able to do last season. And it's really fun to watch. And like we said about how having we had Broski on the other night, and he was talking about how he's getting his team together. The first series it took him till Game 7 to get them back online, but they lost Game 3 tonight, and he got them back online enough to win Game 4 and take a 3-1 lead. So they've had a 3-1 lead in both series here against the top two teams from their division, and we'll look to see if they can close it out tomorrow. They're a super interesting story.
Without question. I think you know tonight was interesting. I'll be honest with you. I was expecting Wilkes-Barre to at least get one against the Wolfpack, but the Wolfpack just stepped up and showed their dominance again. And they're not blowing teams out, but you know what? They're picking up the W's. They're moving right along.
Hmm.
They're 8-0 in the playoffs so far. They've kind of scooted their way right into the semifinals, and it's you know they're rolling hot right now. And whoever comes, I think, if somehow it ends up being Rochester versus Wolfpack, that is going to be one hell of a series to follow, because those are the two top teams in the Eastern Conference, and it would be great to see those two going head to head in the Eastern Conference Finals over there. Hartford and Chicago, or not Hartford, but Rockford and Chicago. That's going to be, like we said, that one's going to go down to the wire. I don't see that going any less than 7 games myself. Both teams are extremely skilled. It's down to the chess match between the two GMs at this point, I think, and how they're playing the matchups. Really, I mean, honestly, truthfully, I think that's what it's going to come down to in that series. Is Game 7, anybody's ball game, and who do they put in there for that Game 7 to get after it over there?
Yeah. The tomorrow is going to be um, a night where we probably see at least one of these series come to an end. Um, but we may see a team or two push it off till Thursday in a Game 7, winner take all. And um, I guess from where we're sitting, we couldn't ask for much more. These, you know, the Wolfpack are taking care of business just like any team would want to so far. But from the viewership standpoint and the rest of the league here, it's really nice to have these kind of storylines, especially with all four series going up 2-0. This could have been a really quick series, or a really quick round of the playoffs in all four of these series. And the goals snuck out a win tonight in solid fashion in Game 3, but they're down 3-1. But we've got two series sitting at 2-2, and quite possibly um, two of the more interesting series, though. That Condors team is really intriguing right now. Um, but yeah, the potential matchups for next round. Um, I think that we could see any combination of teams right now. But it's definitely going to be Hartford, and they're going to be playing against possibly Rochester, or if JD Forthy and the boys have anything to say about it, the Syracuse Crunch, and it's going to be super fun. I think that tonight we had, um, so we've got Hartford who wrapped up their series at 4-0. Rockford and Chicago are sitting at 2-2, as are um, the Crunch and the Americans, and then we also have the Condors up 3-1 on the Gulls. Sibs, you want to go ahead and give final scores, and then we'll give final thoughts?
Yeah, again, game threes tonight. We had Hartford, the Wolfpack in overtime beating the Pens 2-1 in a hard fought game. Crunch blanking the Americans 4-1 in their first game. Goals for Condors 2, Rockford Ice Hogs a 6-1 victory over the Wolves, their first one in the series. And then in game 4, we had Hartford closing out the Pens with a 3-0 shutout. Syracuse getting by Rochester 4-3. That series now tied at 2. San Diego going down to Bakersfield 5-1, and now the Condors with a commanding 3-1 lead, and the Ice Hogs and the Wolves now tied up 2-2 as the Ice Hogs take the last game 7-1.
Well, there you have it. There's your four series update here in the quarterfinals, the conference semifinals. Mike, what are your final thoughts heading into the second half of this week and seeing definitely a few game fives and sixes tomorrow and possibly game sevens on Thursday? What are you seeing here as the week finishes up?
Well, you know, keep your eye on the sky and the battle of the birds. I think the Condors and the Gulls. The Gulls I think are still going to have a little bit of something to say before going down. But hey, you never know. The Condors are playing great hockey right now. They're playing a good team game. They're getting it done. They got a 3-1 series lead over a very strong San Diego team, and we'll see if they can't keep the ball rolling over there in you know in the Condors nest. And like I said, this Wolves Rockford game or series is very tight. It's going to come down to the end. It may or may not, though. Depending on what the matchups are. Like I said, it's going to come down to the matchups in that series. And Rochester, Syracuse. Um, I'm just. I think Rochester just has them a little bit overmatched right now, to be honest with you. I see that one wrapping up tomorrow. But hats off to the Wolfpack. They went out, they proved me wrong, and my hats off to them. That's a great job by Beefy and the gang. They're really playing some good hockey. They're 8-0 in the playoffs here, and they're strolling on through to the semifinals. So we'll see if any of these series can't end up tomorrow, and it's on to the semifinals and through the weekend here. So great games by everyone tonight, and thanks to Beefy especially. He had his scores posted almost immediately after the games tonight. We can't thank you enough for that, Beef. So good job over there with the
Very
whole podcast.
nice.
That's a very nice.
um, yeah, I think what we're going to see here is several interesting tales play out, and it could go any number of directions. But I can tell you right now, whatever happens, there will not be a lack of effort on any end of these three series that remain, and you can bet that the Hartford Wolfpack are definitely going to be watching that Syracuse Rochester series closely now that they got some time to watch the games as they've moved on, to try and figure out who their next opponent's going to be and how they're going to handle them. So far, they've solved both riddles that have been placed in front of them, and they're a rabid pack of wolves right now, ready to go and hunt down their prey and get themselves to another Calder Cup. And Beefy has intentions of doing no less. I can assure you that. Um, for me, as far as the Ice Hogs and Wolves, um, I think tomorrow you're probably going to see the matchup game in Game Five, and depending on how that game goes, um, you might see an interesting Game Six that could possibly put this series in line for a Game Seven, or you could see a team tomorrow night ready to wrap it up and move along. Um, and then you've got the Rochester and Crunch series. That's you know JD Forthy's got those guys up, and getting that series tied tonight was outstanding job by them. Rochester is not an easy team to play against, and to beat them twice in a row to even up that series, you never know what could happen there. The Crunch are not a team that got here by accident. They are extremely solid offensively and defensively, and I do not expect them to go away quietly, like I had predicted originally. But now that it's 2-2, you can bet that that team is fired up and ready to go. And then for me, the most interesting series to this point, the rallying Condors, man, what a performance, and how Broski's got that team firing on all cylinders. For me, that's the one that I'm gonna watch tomorrow night, for sure in Game 5, because if the Condors can wrap that up and have a chance to watch the Ice Hogs and Wolves beat the hell out of each other for the next couple of games after that, setting up a matchup with them in the semifinals. Um, it could be extremely fun to watch, and I bet you right now that Broski is getting his guys ready to go and try and end this series in their first chance tomorrow, so they don't let it drag on again. That's what I'm going to be watching for. Again, thank you everybody for listening. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but we always will push through. And we will see you Saturday night to wrap up this series and let you know how it all went. Thank you very much.